come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky. Gentlemen, I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is the one, the only, the Axie-Ivs.
I was kind of hoping you'd stretch out my name like the narrator does in every single fucking episode.
Yeah, well, Steve, on that note, what are we here to talk about today?
Today, we're here to talk about Dragon Ball GT.
That narrator.
Last time on GT.
Yeah, on the next GT.
It's so fucking extra, I love it.
That narrator really picked up from, he got more intense with every series, because Dragon Ball, he's like, oh no, what will Goku do, was like the most intense he ever got. And then Z is like, the faithful day that Majin Buu came back. It's like, okay, it's a little more dramatic, but then he's like, Goku picked up a Dragon Ball on the last episode of GT. Just everything became more intense. It was totally the 90s.
It really was. It was that perfect late 90s weird like comic book edge, and I love it.
Yeah. So Dragon Ball GT is one of those interesting series, and I've just finished watching through it after watching through the other two series. Took me.
Okay. Quick question then, just out of curiosity, did you watch all 64 episodes in the movie, or did you just watch the 64 episodes?
There's a movie?
Okay, so there's like this 50-minute TV special thing that, you know, in the last episode you got Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. It's that 50-minute special that introduces Goku Jr.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay, I didn't rewatch that, so I was curious.
No, I didn't even know that was the thing.
It's called Hero's Legacy.
Yeah, I've been watching through Dragon Ball, all of it, for probably the better part of a year. It's not like I watched it every single day, and at most for a long time of that I was watching one episode a day.
And you didn't skip any of the filler, apparently.
No, I watched all of it. All of Dragon Ball, all of Dragon Ball Z, and GT was the easiest to get through, just all in one go, because there's so much less of it, so it was easier to get the motivation to watch multiple episodes a day.
Yeah, literally only 64 episodes. There is very little to comb through.
Yeah. So, we could potentially have done an episode on each series, but I love Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z is cool as shit. GT is the one that I feel I would have the most to say about.
Yep, that's exactly why I wanted to talk about this, because I feel like I can talk about GT with more nuance and more intricacy than the other two shows, because everyone kind of knows how they feel about them.
Yeah, and I mean, those will come up throughout this, is the thing, right? They are all connected, obviously, and so it's just naturally you'll talk about those by talking about GT, so it's worth just talking about GT. GT's weird for me because I remember watching bits and pieces of it when it was originally airing here in the States, but it is the series that I never watched significant amounts of. It was weird watching through this because, honestly, dude, the way I remembered it was Goku gets turned into a kid, the stuff with Baby starts up, Baby is defeated, and then because of Baby's last wish, the Shadow Dragons are born. That's what I thought this series was. And there's a whole airing history with the Black Star Dragon Ball arc that I didn't even know about, but just how the hell I missed the Super Android 17 thing, I have no idea.
So, and this is a point of contention historically, because no one really knows. GT was only supposed to go 40 episodes. The ending was supposed to be Baby, which would have been anticlimactic as fuck, because we just got Super Saiyan 4. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But it was supposed to go for 40 episodes, No one has. This has been the dominant rumor all over the place. No one has corroborated that. And then rumors said that the reason it got 24 more episodes is because of the Dragon Ball GT video game that was coming out, Final Bout, which was awful and no one should play it. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you can still release the video game, and it just makes more sense to release that and not waste money on 24 more episodes. But then people say it wasn't supposed to end with Shadow Dragons either, so it's weird. We know for a fact that 17 is Attack On. GT technically has no filler because there is no manga, but if there is a single point of it that is the most like filler, it is Super 17.
That whole, like, okay, all of GT basically watches like fan fiction is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can immediately tell it's not Toriyama.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, just generally speaking, it's more thought out ahead of time what's happening. They set stuff up for longer. It's way too much in reverence to Dragon Ball. Like, it has all these callbacks and you know, fond memories of Dragon Ball in it just from the very beginning. And it's incredibly evident that the reason why is because people that are making this remember how much they love scenes in Dragon Ball. Toriyama didn't fucking remember Dragon Ball. I don't think Toriyama remembers what he had for breakfast this morning.
I mean, that's probably fair.
So, like, that was one of the interesting things about the way he wrote Dragon Ball and Z, and it's incredibly frustrating on a continuity picking level, but at the same time, it always felt kind of fresh. It had, like, a very similar sense and tone and stuff, but, like, everything felt relatively fresh because he was just coming up with it on the spot. He wasn't, you know, planning it all out and setting stuff up forever and ever. And so just, like, GT has stuff set up. Like, from the very beginning of the Black Star Dragon Ball arc, they're more or less setting up the baby stuff. All of it goes back to baby with Giru. That is never a thing Toriyama would have done.
Yeah, GT is... This is partly why I think... Because GT has entered the conversation again in a way it hadn't, because now we have Super. Mm-hmm. And now we have this contention of, well, is GT just in the future of Super? Or no, GT is entirely not canon. Do you prefer one over the other, despite not having to choose that way? But we're geeks, so we all take sides, apparently. So, like, if there's one big thing about GT I prefer to Dragon Ball Super, it's that it is more intricate. The sagas lead into each other. The fact that you see the Dragon Balls cracking as Goku's fighting Super 17 makes me like that more.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's interesting to see stuff set up, certainly, but it does distinctly feel different because of that.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so, like, to be fair, though, for, like, I didn't think of it as fan fiction until you used that phrasing. It always did feel different, but Dragon Ball GT, I remember, because in Japan, literally 1 week after the final episode of Dragon Ball Z, they started airing Dragon Ball GT. Mm-hmm. And for me, at around the same time Z was ending in the US, I was on the Dragon Ball website constantly, and I saw the announcement for the English dub of GT, and I bought every VHS as they were coming out off the overpriced Funimation website. So, like, it always kind of felt like the continuation to me. I always kind of didn't realize that GT was bad until I realized GT was not as good as people wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. Notice the different phrasing there. Okay. So, like, I see what people mean when they say it's different, it feels like fan fiction. It never felt like that to me, but I understand how it could.
Well, like, I think the Super 17 arc is the perfect embodiment of the fact that it feels like fan fiction. It's hero worship of Goku. It is just blatantly, like, bringing all these characters from Dragon Ball and Z back on screen, even if it's just for a moment. And, like, that's kind of fun. It's certainly a cool thing to see. This is one of those odd things where I probably would have somewhat enjoyed it more if it wasn't in English. If I could just look at it and go, oh, that's cool. But just, like, I don't know, Kid Goku completely shits on Cell and Frieza like it's a goddamn game. And I'm like...
That bothers me, yeah.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, Goku, especially years and years... Like, obviously, by the time you get to Buu, But years and years after that, Goku would definitely be able to beat Frieza and Cell with ease. Like, I know there's one, like, clip from a montage or something where adult Super Saiyan Goku just, like, defeats Cell and Frieza with, like, a single kick. At the same time. Not even 2 kicks. 1 kick. Like, I remember seeing that somewhere, and...
I think that's in the Plan to Eradicate Saiyans thing that came out after Boo.
Gotcha. Like, that whole thing, you know... He certainly would be able to, I don't deny that. It's just, like, the ease, the silliness of it. It feels like Dragon Ball fan fiction. It feels like, here's all these stupid Z characters, and Kid Goku could totally kick their ass. Adult Goku was the only one that would have a problem with it. Just, it feels so self-aware. It's like, here's Vegeta trying to fight Super Android 17, but he's, like, too proud of himself and doesn't understand what's going on, so he gets wiped. Android 17 wipes the floor with him. It's just, like, left and right, there's so much stuff from, like, okay, fine, I can buy that Super 17 would be stronger than Cell. I will give you that. You don't deserve it, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
That he would be stronger than Vegeta after he went toe-to-toe with Kid Buu and Super Buu. No fucking way. Just absolutely no way.
It's that weird thing where, like, you had that really dumb line in the General Riddle fight where Goku's like, this guy's stronger than Majin Buu for no good reason. And you could maybe extrapolate and say, okay, so maybe the machine mutant Android 17 is stronger than Majin Buu, but that's really dumb. And giving you that extra mile just kind of undercuts how big of a problem Buu was compared to everything else.
Yeah, and just, like, it's the ultimate problem of telling, not showing. Like,
yep.
That's the thing. When General Wheelo shows up and everything, we don't see him do anything, and Goku says he's stronger than Buu. Buu fucking ripped a hole in dimensions by screaming because he wasn't going to have chocolate or ice cream. Hell no, that General Wheelo is not stronger than Buu.
Yeah. No, that was irritating. Particularly because it didn't seem like Goku was even having that much of a problem with him.
Like, did he even go Super Saiyan fighting him?
He did. He goes Super Saiyan to fight him. That's like the second time he goes Super Saiyan as a child. So, like, that was a thing. It's just, it didn't feel like a massive at-stakes sort of, the kind of knockout, drag-out brawl Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Kid Buu were having.
Not at all. And that's the thing. It's like, it is so just trying to make you buy that these guys are an up of the ante that they're not. Like, one of the reasons...
Well, see, I buy it with Baby and with the Shadow Dragons more than I ever do with Super 17 or General Rildo.
Yeah, definitely. Like, say what you will about Toriyama, but he was reasonably smart and kind of knew when to walk away. There was still, like, the temptation of, oh, well, we wanted you to keep going. And, like, he did that for a while, and that's why we got Buu. But from Dragon Ball to the end of Z with Buu, there's a very clear ramp up of the challenge, the level of threat. And the, like, trait that Goku keeps having is he has to overcome, push past his limits, and, you know, be better than the new threat. Dragon Ball... just almost from its inception, there's a very particular... Or GT, I'm sorry. From its inception, there's a very particular moment early on in the Black Star Dragon Ball arc where you can just tell that they don't know how to keep upping the ante and make it dramatic and exciting to a point, because when they're hunting for the Dragon Balls and their ship gets stolen on that alien planet, Goku's like, we'll just use my instant transmission to go over there and get it. And they try 3 times to use instant transmission and it fails. And their explanation is, oh, well, since you're not in your adult body anymore, you're not used to it. Okay, then he can keep practicing for one, but we never see Kid Goku use instant transmission. And it's just very clearly meant to add drama. They don't know how to write the situations if he can just pop out of the room at any second when he needs to. It's a matter of they didn't know how to properly scale the things. And so Wheelo, and to some extent Baby, feel like massive scale downs compared to Buu and Cell.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's part of what GT has going for it is it has the ability to like be something that is smaller and more intimate and with its characters, but it keeps feeling the need to undercut what that is with this massive upward scaling. Earth blowing up in the baby arc makes no fucking sense, and it just happened for drama's sake.
And see, it's weird because I actually kind of like the fact that they solve a problem without using the Dragon Balls. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
I actually like that episode a lot, and I think it's a cool problem to solve, but it's not a problem that in any way makes sense to have.
Well, like, it could have... Like, the way they explained it is stupid, and it could have made more sense if they just, like... Because they go, oh, it's been a year since Baby used the Black Star Dragon Balls. The fuck it has. The absolute...
It's been, like, 3 days.
Yeah,
tops.
There's no way that Baby was in control of the Earth for a fucking year. Like, just, there's... What we see is meant to be taken as real time. It has been a day, tops, would be my thing. The thing is, though, they go like that's at least the translation in the dub. I don't know what the actual what the actual line is, but regardless, the reason that it happened doesn't really make sense, because what it should have just been was, oh, since the Black Star Dragon Balls left the Earth again before that full year had passed, the clock just went back to what it was at when they arrived. That's all you needed, and that would have been just as satisfying, or more satisfying. But they do some weird-ass reason for it. And I guess, like, the reason they say it's been a year since he used the Black Star Dragon Balls is because they didn't air the Black Star Dragon Ball arc, but that's still silly.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I don't entirely know why they even felt the need to do that.
To kill Piccolo to set up Super Android 17 conclusion? The
Piccolo thing is weird, because there was a rumor that the reason they needed to kill Piccolo is because the voice actor for him wanted to leave in the original Japanese. But I haven't been able to find a source for that anywhere that, like, confirms that was a thing. This is part of the problem with GT. GT is filled to the brim with controversy and misinformation. For everything you can find about it, you can find the exact opposite.
Oh, nice.
It's really confusing. It's really irritating. And part of the reason everyone shits on GT, I think partly unfairly, is because they're kind of caught up in that horde of misinformation where you have the people that love GT unabashedly and talk about how Toriyama was so involved, and then they'll bash it for no good reason and say how Toriyama wasn't involved at all. And they will both have equally amount of references for that.
Yeah, and, like, I remember hearing at points that, like, Toriyama disowned GT and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't really care, because, honestly, Toriyama doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Toriyama's not there, you can tell in places. He didn't write any of the show, we know that much. But, I mean, I don't care. I don't need Toriyama for my Dragon Ball.
I would tend to agree with that sentiment if more people were good at writing Dragon Ball besides him.
That's fair.
Like, you know, spoilers, we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Sai, which is a fan manga, and I enjoy the hell out of it. It's obviously not written by Toriyama. So, like, you can certainly tell good stories with Dragon Ball characters and stuff. I just don't... I'm not readily able to think of people that did. Like, all the filler in GT... or all the filler in Dragon Ball Z and stuff isn't written by him, and it's not none of it's, like, nearly as half as good as his worst arc.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
You know, and, like, a lot of the movies weren't written by him. He just kind of came up with the general idea. A lot of the movies aren't very good.
Well, GT's a weird thing. We're like, okay, so is GT bad because Toriyama isn't involved, or is it bad because of that more... I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to say, because, like, Toriyama did a lot for the series. Like, he came up with the name, which also, to go with your Goku criticism, a lot of people who don't like GT, instead of calling it Grand Tour, they call it Goku Time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hysterical. But, like, he came up with that. He came up with a lot of character designs. People bash on Vegeta's look for the show. Toriyama came up with that.
He came up with the mustache?
He came up with the mustache.
Oh, God, no. No.
See, yeah.
Terrible decision.
People talk about how GT sucks because Super Saiyan 4 is awful. Toriyama thought Super Saiyan 4 looked badass. Like, I don't think it's because of lack or even input of Toriyama that GT suffers. I think it just suffers because it has problems that come from trying to force a new season.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
Or series.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z, love or hate the ending, does have a very definitive ending, and the whole point is Goku's gotta pass the goddamn torch at some point, and he just...
Oh, the oob thing. The fucking oob thing.
Right? And like, ooh, okay, so something that annoys the hell out of me about Dragon Ball GT, and did from the very beginning of when I first saw it, was like, okay, fine, Goku is running around the universe with his granddaughter, Pan. Why the fuck does Pan never go Super Saiyan? And furthermore, if you're gonna just have Pan not be useful or strong or anything and never go Super Saiyan, why not just have made it Oob?
Yeah, Oob is a really strange character where literally every time he shows up, he is almost instantly written out. He's in that first episode just so he can leave the room. He introduced himself in the fight for Baby just so he can lose. He turns into Majub just so he can lose. Literally every time, anywhere he shows up, he's not there for more than 2 minutes to prove he sucks. And that's really irritating. He is Goku's handpicked student.
Yeah,
he should be better than this.
He should be wiping the floor with these guys, right?
In all honesty, he should be stronger than Vegeta.
Oh, easily. Like, that's the whole point, is he's got all of Kid Buu's power. It's just he didn't know how to use it. And Goku taught him. And this is after Goku apparently felt fine to say, your training's complete. So what the fuck did Goku teach? Is Goku as bad a teacher as Master Roshi?
Is he as bad a teacher as he is a dad? Probably.
Yeah, like, it always cracked me up in Dragon Ball that, like, after that initial training session that Goku and Krillin had with Master Roshi, then there's the first World Martial Arts Tournament. Roshi's like, I've taught you boys everything I know. I'm like, bullshit, you did? All those techniques you used on Goku in the tournament, you didn't show them any of that. You're a fucking liar, Roshi.
Look, I showed you how to ostensibly maybe do a fight. That is all I'm good for right now.
Pretty much. And so, like, did Goku just... I mean, if that's his metric for learning how to train someone, I suppose that's why Oob is so goddamn useless.
I will say, as fucking useless as Oob is, the idea of Majub is fascinating, and I feel like Majin Buu is written better in this than he is anywhere else.
Maybe to an extent.
Specifically Fat Buu. I think Fat Buu in this... It's kind of like the Hulk thing where, like, I wish we kind of, like... You can cap him off at a certain point of he's grown up and he can speak, and he can draw on the fact that he's spoken before. He doesn't have to be a bumbling idiot every time or a super genius every time. Particularly when you compare the sort of nonsensical, boring Boo's a grown-up child thing that both Super and the end of Z do. This Majin Buu is hands down the only one that seems to realize life has happened to him and he's thinking about it now. Like, he feels more grown up.
Okay, and that's fair, and, like, to be fair, though, he's had more years to grow up than either of the other two, right? So I'll give it that small caveat. I haven't watched any of Super, so I completely forgot he'd be in that show, but of course he would.
Yeah, everyone's in that show.
Yeah, everyone. But, like, just... If you're gonna have Pan just not go Super Saiyan and just be completely useless, and you're gonna have Oob just be completely useless, why even fuck around with Pan? Like, I personally, I think it's pretty fucking sexist that neither Pan nor Bra got to go Super Saiyan.
Well, and Bra's just kind of there to be stereotypical, oh my god, Vegeta's got a girly girl daughter.
And, like, I kind of like that imagery to a certain extent, but this is, again, kind of the Toriyama thing, because I can feel how that dude would write that character. Yes, Toriyama would think it would be hilarious if Vegeta had a daughter that was completely obsessed with shopping and all that quote-unquote girly shit. he would also have her be stronger than Trunks. I can legit feel that is a claim I can make with reasonable confidence. He would have her be able to wipe the floor with Trunks, Gohan, and Goten.
Yeah. No, he specifically given what Gohan was capable of during the Majin Buu arc. If Vegeta had a second kid, he'd be like, "Okay, you are taking down both of Kakarot's kids."
Exactly. Like that's the thing I really like. To get a little into Z. I've heard people complain that Kid Trunks isn't as cool as Future Trunks, and the specific reason that he's annoying, the specific reason for that is because Future Trunks is Bulma's son. Kid Trunks is Vegeta's son. He is a wildly different person because he was raised with Vegeta in his life. And also he's a child, but still. Like,
GT mucks with that in that grown-up Kid Trunks is basically Future Trunks.
I disagree with that. I don't think he is nearly as interesting. Obviously he's not as interesting. I don't think he's got the motivation, the level of strength, anything. I think that grown-up GT Trunks is just completely useless.
Okay, I know. I don't agree with that at all. I think he is on par with what Trunks was in that show, namely not very useful at all, except for other characters to tell him what to do.
Fair enough.
Future Trunks has more of a character given his setting, but he never acts on that characterization, ever.
That's a fair argument to make. I just think that Future Trunks has a certain level of drive and is willing to be useful and helpful, and he really is Bulma's son to me, because he's the one proposing the solution that isn't, we should fight this guy.
That's true.
He's the one that wanted to go back and destroy Jiro's lab. Everyone else wants to fight the androids. Well,
but to counterpoint with that, his whole plan when he first found out about Baby, and his whole plan to kill him with being frozen in carbonite and shit. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a Future Trunks move.
It is. You're right. And that one tries to get more Future Trunks. He just feels much more bland to me. I'm talking specifically about Z Trunks. He's got his father's attitude.
Okay, no, I agree with that. I guess part of it is I'm starting to get to this point where I'm conflating Kid Trunks' characterization in Z with his characterization in Super, and given how annoying I find Goten and Trunks in Super, I would pick these Goten and Trunks any day.
And I haven't seen Super, so I'll just assume that's a fair point. I can't really comment on it, though.
Yeah.
For me, Trunks in GT, though, is just... I can count on one hand the number of times the guy goes Super Saiyan. I just feel like, okay, bringing Trunks with you is obviously, oh yeah, everyone likes adult Trunks, we're gonna take him and he's gonna go off on an adventure with Goku. Okay, fine. Can he, I don't know, do anything? He has one plan to take out Baby, and it doesn't work.
It would help so much if he wasn't there to be that comedic babysitter of both Goku and Pan. Mm-hmm. For one, that comedy doesn't work with me, but the other thing is just, it seems like he's kind of just there to stand around and be the buzzkill for those two, except for when one of their dumb moves pays off for the rest of the episode. Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And that's just an annoying way to write. The Black Star arc is really bad. Oh, it's if people only saw the Black Star arc and gave up on the rest of GT, I would not blame them. It's really bad.
Yeah, I was pretty committed to finish all of Dragon Ball, but I was like, wow, this is really... I hope the rest of GT isn't this bad. And it's not. It's not significantly better.
I don't know. I think there's a massive ramp up from Black Star Dragon Ball to Baby, but that ramps down really quick with Super 17 and the Shadow Dragons.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Is there an arc in GT that you think is better than any of the arcs in Z?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the Baby arc is ultimately better than I don't know how much I want to. Yeah. I think I'll go with it. I think it's better than the Namek arc.
Okay, the Namek arc not including
Namek
Namek arc
as
up
in,
till Frieza, or Frieza?
well,
arc
Frieza
included?
has his own saga. So like
Okay.
it's yeah. So like from the moment Vegeta's defeated up to Frieza becoming the main antagonist, all of that, Baby is way better than that, and I think Baby is also better than the Saiyan arc. Honestly, I don't really like the Saiyan arc.
Whoa, no! See, those are fighting words for me. Saiyan arc's awesome.
I just don't care about the Saiyan arc. I feel like Dragon Ball Z does not find its Dragon Ball Z is not Dragon Ball Z for me until the Frieza arc, really.
Okay, and that's fair. I really like the Saiyan arc, all things considered.
That's fair. I will say it is more debatable when it comes to the Saiyan arc, but I think, at least for me, I would watch the Baby arc before I would sit through all of the Namek stuff again.
And the Namek stuff is like a really slow burn to get to Frieza. I'd agree with you with that. I guess it's just like really hard because it's just more truncated, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a head scratcher for me, but I don't think there's moments that I think are like great. I think they really started to find their footing and understand what they were going for with GT. Whereas in Z, though, it's just like it meanders a lot, but it's just overall head and shoulders above for me.
I mean, yeah, Z is definitely a better show than GT.
Yeah, and I just don't think
that
that there's a single arc that like tops any of them for me.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. There's the difficult thing I have with GT is that there's so much in it that I really love, and now knowing how much of the stuff people claimed they didn't like, that Super reuses almost unabashedly, and it's okay there, makes me like it more. The Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta thing is exactly what they do with Vegito Blue, for example.
Okay.
Like, to a T. It's literally that, except it's Vegito.
So what, they just do the fusion dance and like have to keep worrying about an enemy as they're doing it or something?
Well, so it's literally, here's an enemy. They fought and had several checkpoints where Goku was obviously losing. Vegeta shows up. Vegeta and Goku are like, okay, let's fuse. They get the earrings as opposed to doing the fusion dance. They fuse, and they think they have longer than they do, and then they unfuse, and then they still deal with the enemy. And then he gets defeated by a kind of universal spirit bomb type attack.
God damn it! Fuck the
It's
spirit bomb use
literally the
after
same
Z.
thing.
I hate.
Well, okay, to be fair, it's not a spirit bomb. It's a attack Trunks has, but it's basically the same principle of a spirit bomb, which is everyone gives him his energy.
Yeah, see, fuck that noise. Because, like, the Spirit Bomb literally never did what it was supposed to in Z.
Yeah. It became a different thing literally after the first episode.
Yeah, like, they use it on Vegeta. It doesn't really work. He could have easily still killed Goku, if not for the fact that other people were around. Like, someone pointed this out to me. I find it hilarious that Vegeta, for all his, like, pining to be as strong as Goku, has never lost a fight against Goku. Every time they fought, he won. Whether or not, like, the reason behind why he won or whatever, like, oh, Goku could have gone Super Saiyan 3, well, he didn't, so Vegeta won. Like, every time they fought, but, like, the Spirit Bomb doesn't really work on Vegeta, it completely fails on Frieza, and then they just forget about it during the Cell arc, and it's just until the very end, during the Buu arc, is when you get this really great, and it feels like it's this massive payoff, even though you know it's not, this really great moment where everyone has to come together, give their energy. It's a fantastic way to defeat the final villain. And then GT does it. I'm like, is this just going to be the go-to now? Is just Spirit Bomb every villain now? Is this the way we've decided that all the villains have to be beaten? Because honestly, I don't feel like Goku would be comfortable continuing to do that. Just as a character.
Well, to be fair, he only does it once in GT, and that's the very end.
Yeah.
He hasn't done it at all in Super.
Well, like, it's that, and then it's the fact that he keeps getting energy from the other Saiyans. Like, he does that 2 or 3 times in GT, and like that really annoys me. And I kind of just remember Battle of Gods is the only Super era stuff I've seen where he's having this conversation with Beerus about the God form, and he's like, I'm disappointed in myself. I don't want to be doing this because I didn't earn it by myself. And I'm like, that is the most Goku fucking thing in the world. And so I don't know if you'd be comfortable continuing to get these massive attacks to defeat the villain from other people. I don't feel like that's a very Goku move. And so it bothers me throughout Z. Or throughout GT, I mean.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't like that weird Saiyan huddle thing where they give it more power. Specifically, I don't like that they feel the need to call that a different form, which is really bizarre.
What, like it's Super Saiyan 4.5 or something?
It's literally, there's Super Saiyan 4, and then there's Super Saiyan 4 full power. These are different forms, apparently. It's dumb. I don't know.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Also, another thing that Super just takes unabashedly, which is it takes several Saiyans to ascend to that next form thing. But
that's just the one time, correct?
Well, that's just the one time for a Super Saiyan God. But you can't do that and not know you've already done it with Dragon Ball GT.
Certainly.
But yeah, so I don't like that. I liked it in the baby arc specifically. I liked it as this is an adversary of the Saiyan race. After that, it's really boring.
Mm-hmm. And it just feels like a cop-out. Yeah,
it feels like a cop-out. And Super Saiyan 4 is weird. Super Saiyan 4 has the shortest grace period of any transformation ever, with maybe the exception of Super Saiyan God. But that doesn't really count because that's a progression thing. In that, Goku is dominating in that form for all of 6 minutes. Compare that to any other transformation. Even Super Saiyan 3, he has for at least like a full 20 minutes kicking someone's ass. Super Saiyan 4 is literally useful and perfect for like 6 minutes.
Yeah, and then Baby just turns the tables on him.
Yeah, that bothers me, partly because I think Super Saiyan 4 is amazing. I love Super Saiyan 4.
You know what I will say, though? Like, I really like Bulma as a character. I did a list the other day of the top 3 most useful Z fighters. It's Goku, Vegeta, and Bulma.
It's true.
Seriously. And, like, I will say for GT, they give Bulma a hell of a lot to do.
She gets an arc.
Yeah, she is awesome in GT, where, like, she's, controlled and evil, and it's the first time Goku's ever had to deal against Bulma, and she's, like, legitimately, it's not Baby that almost kills Goku, right? It's Bulma.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then, when she helps Vegeta get to Super Saiyan 4, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Bulma is great in GT. And, like, she kind of gives me the... you've talked about it before where GT has the best finale that Dragon Ball's ever gotten, and I tend to agree with you. Because I love that moment where Goku flies off with Shenron, and she just sits there smiling and is like, we've had some great times together.
Yep.
That's so sweet.
It kind of breaks your heart.
Yeah, it's so sweet. And, like, she really is such a great character. And they don't, for as sexist as the show seemed to be, as far as Pan and Bra were concerned, they wrote a damn good Bulma.
Especially coming off of Z, where she was probably one of the most annoying parts of Z consistently, where all she kind of did was got into trouble and scream.
Yeah, from time to time. She had her moments where she actually, helped out and stuff, but mainly, yeah, she wasn't... She goes through a lull in Z, I'll give you.
I like her. I think she doesn't, like... The only parts of Z where I actually like having her on screen is when we get to the Boo stuff. Not specifically Boo stuff, but, like, everything after Cell.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, no, Bulma's great in this. Chi-Chi kind of fades into the background in order to bring more Bulma out, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Chi-Chi fan. She's got like a one-note characterization kind of thing.
I like her in Dragon Ball mostly as the reveal of, oh shit, this uber serious kicking your ass woman was that little girl you met. I thought that whole finale brought that around for Dragon Ball, and then just kind of disappears with with Z and Super. But yeah, no, Bulma specifically is really great throughout this, and it seems like Vegeta's come in this series specifically. He's come to see Bulma's part in his life in a way he hadn't before, which is cool.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, you get to the whole Majin Vegeta stuff, and I do want to talk about that in relation to Baby. You did the whole Majin Vegeta stuff where he's like, I gave up loving my family because I needed that edge back to be able to fight you. And then you get to this, and he's gone through such a characterization and obviously grown more attached to Bulma. You know, they had another kid. He's a family man. He walks around the house trying to get people to notice that he shaved his mustache. Like, that just... He feels like a dad, right?
He does.
And
he doesn't feel the need to go after Super Saiyan 4 until it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and I really, really like that. And he's also still aware that he's kind of got that, though, where they're talking about plans to save the Earth from destruction, and Goku's like, I can just turn into a Super Saiyan 4 anytime I want, and then I'll use instant transmission. He's like, rub it in, Kakarot. Rub it in. Like, that's, you know, he's aware of that part of himself now. It's all through Bulma. It's all through having a family, and that's a really good part. And so one of the things I really do like about Dragon Ball GT in the Baby arc is that Vegeta is turned into the villain against his will. He is past that point where he could be manipulated like that again, and yet he is forced into that role. That is really fascinating. Yeah.
And I mean, specifically the episode where Baby goes after Vegeta, I think, is one of their strongest episodes. Baby as a villain, and specifically as an escalation of threat, is probably the best they were able to do in terms of both being able to maintain more of that intimate character relation that they were hoping for, and making it feel like a genuine threat because of the body hopping. Like, he progressively gets stronger, and it makes sense. And it's a very proportionate stronger to what body he's in.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it was as thoughtful as that going forward, you would have had something really good. Baby is weird, though, in that he specifically has a thing against King Vegeta, and, like, shrinking down the Saiyan timeline that far is weird.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
they weren't on planet Vegeta forever. The Saiyans were the Saiyans inhabiting a planet and then becoming the mercenaries of space all happened in the span of 10, 20 years, given King Vegeta's appearance up to Vegeta being a kid.
Well, GT does give itself a little bit of wiggle room where apparently Saiyans stay really young. Just like physically, they look young for the majority of their lives. I think I heard someone throw out the phrase that they don't start aging until they turn like 80.
Yeah, that's a super thing.
Okay. And so,
yeah, a Saiyan will start losing their prime after about the age of 80.
Okay, and so, like, you get a little more wiggle room with that, retroactively, but we'll give it to him.
Sure.
You get a little more wiggle room, but, like, within 100 years, that's still weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a matter of, like, you can't explain it. It's just weird to give the Saiyan history a weird finite timeline like that.
Yeah, pretty much. They take over Planet Truffle, turn it into Planet Vegeta, immediately become space mercenaries, and then Frieza's like, oh no, fuck this noise. This is a problem. Well, Frieza was very forward thinking then. He was like legit aware. Like, you think the impression I got was that they served Frieza for like at least hundreds of years. Or like Frieza's empire, rather, for hundreds of years. Nope. For like 10 years. They're like, this is not good.
If nothing else, it makes Frieza a smarter villain, so...
Sure. But yeah, I agree. That is weird. Because, like, especially when you take it in with some of the filler that it's trying to reference, where, like, the Saiyans were living in caves before they took over the planet.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so, like, not only did they become space mercenaries within a lifetime, they developed language skills and, like, understanding of other races outside of their planet within a lifetime. They're smarter than you give them credit for, I guess.
The monkey people, man, evolution on a small scale.
Yeah. So that is really weird to attach Baby to. I would have been fine if Baby were just like a last-ditch effort that they made that the Truffles made as an android to take out the Saiyans. Like, if you make the idea that the war with the Saiyans went on for a long time, that they weren't destroyed in a night, that's less of a retroactive continuity head-scratcher than if you just, the Saiyans took over the planet and developed high level of thinking society within years.
I mean, you don't even necessarily need to, like... I don't understand why they couldn't have just done a simpler explanation of the Tuffles are just part of, or not even maybe call them Tuffles, but just say, Baby comes from a race of people that were one of the planets destroyed by the Saiyans and given to Frieza. You could have just made them one in the system. You didn't have to make it the planet Vegeta.
Yeah, that too. Just something like that, and just making him a byproduct of that. Because, like, it's weird. Baby is apparently a Tuffle. Dr. Mew doesn't feel like a Tuffle. Just the way he acts. He never seems to have anything against Saiyans in particular.
Yeah, Dr. Mew's a weird villain. He kind of has one personality when you're thinking about the whole machine mutant thing, and then suddenly becomes an entirely different person when you see Baby.
Uh-huh. My baby! My baby.
The most over-the-top my baby screams I've ever heard.
Baby! Baby
as a baby, though, looks fucking horrifying.
And I love that he fucking crawls. Oh, yeah. God, that's the worst.
Well, it's the thing with GT where I feel like the way the whole show is drawn and the sort of tone it goes for with Baby is a lot darker and more mature than ultimately anything about the show.
Yeah, definitely. So Baby's like a hit and miss villain. Super 17 is pointless. No one's in the Black Star Dragon Ball arc that's worth talking about. The other big villain arc is then the Shadow Dragons. So I like I said, I remember that there were Shadow Dragons, and I remember seeing Super Saiyan 4 Goku fighting Omega Shenron. I didn't remember just how fucking useless the other Shadow Dragons are.
They are all awful until you get to Nova, Ice, and Omega.
Yeah, and like, they make this whole big deal out of what dragon or what wish were you created by. That could have been really interesting, except they have no relation to each other. It's like, I was created by the wish for panties, and so I have wind powers. Like, they're just elementals, right? You got the pollution, the wind, the fire, the ice, the earth.
The earth, the lightning.
Yeah, they're all just elementals. So, like, you should have done something with that instead of connecting them to the wishes, or you should have, like, done the smart thing and actually connect them to the wishes. One was created by a perverted wish for some panties. It steals women. Like, I literally just came up with that. That is something dragons were said to have done. This is better. Alright, just literally that sentence is better than that whole character.
The early Shadow Dragon stuff is on par with the Black Star stuff, where like there's just no point in watching it.
Yeah, and I mean it's a shame because the one thing I'll always give GT is amazing ideas, and the thing that drove me crazy about Dragon Ball is solving all the problems with the goddamn Dragon Balls and having no consequences because of that. Shadow Dragons were a fucking consequence. I love that idea.
I mean, on premise alone, the final season of a Dragon Ball series ending being Shadow Dragons is literally the best idea in the franchise.
Yes, definitely. And so, like, just the Panty Dragon wish has nothing to do with the dragon. Like, I'm sitting there trying to remember what wishes they said they came from, and then they just fucking drop it after Nova. I'm trying to remember what wishes they said they came from, and it's so inconsequential that it doesn't even matter. One of them came... Was it the pollution dragon that came from the wish to bring back the one kid's dad?
No, that was what was it? Rage Shinron?
Okay.
Yeah, that was the lightning one, I think.
All right. There's like that one. There's Nova's created by King
The
Piccolo's
wish to the immortality thing.
Mm-hmm.
The wish to... I think Hey Shenron was the one where it's like it was the one to revive Krillin or something.
Something like that. It's just like one of them's like to revive all the people that Vegeta killed. Just none of the wishes have anything to do with what they are, though. And that's stupid. They should all be related exactly to what they are. Like, Nova shouldn't have been related, especially since he's the 4-star dragon. It should not have been in any way related to King Piccolo. It should have been related to bringing Goku back. That would have made their whole relationship so much more intimate and complex.
Nova Shenron is a really weird ball in this whole thing anyway. For one, what makes Nova and Ice brothers in any more way than any of the other Shadow Dragons are or aren't?
They just got tired of trying to come up with new character designs because they were getting really lazy with them anyway.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. But and Nova's whole weird... Okay, this is part of maybe either Goku being dumb or no one having the time to talk about it, which is Goku was ready to just let Nova go because he's a good guy. That would have not solved the problem that needed solving, which is he's made of negative energy. The Dragon Balls are literally ruining the entire planet. Even if every other Shadow Dragon was dead, you'd still have this problem if Nova was around.
Yeah, and you could maybe make the argument that, they can convert it to positive energy, whatever the fuck that means.
That was so dumb.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. It's just, the Shadow Dragons are such a great fucking concept, and they just shit all over it. They have
the
no idea
fights
what they're
get
doing.
really dull by that point. The Omega Shenron Zen Shenron fight is really cool for the 1 minute for that one split second where he's completely overpowering Goku, and he's left unconscious hanging on a building. And then after that, it's really boring.
Yeah, it's just the same old, villain that's completely overpowering everybody.
Yeah.
And they keep having to come up with techniques. And it's neat to see Goku and Vegeta think on their feet and fight together, which is something usually that you only got to see in the movies, right?
Yeah.
When they're fighting Boo, they weren't even fighting together. They're just fighting at the same time. But I really like the moment where Goku gets thrown into the glass and he goes, "Oh, we'll use the after image technique and trick him that way, so we have time to fuse." Yeah, that was pretty clever, and I even like the Toriyama-esque thing of still stopping on your expectations by removing their ability to fuse at that point. That was cool. It's just that the stakes feel so off, and he just feels like another Dragon Ball Z villain that's wasting his time, when the whole thing about him is he's supposed to not be one of those because he's trying not to waste his time, but he just keeps toying around with Goku and Vegeta. I don't know why. It is seriously just formulaic writing at that point.
Yeah, Omega kind of breaks the formula at that point, and it gets really irritating. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, because he's sitting there like, I'm not going to give you time, but I'm going to keep apparently not trying to kill you with every attack.
Omega gets to that point where, okay, if Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball in general, gets to its laziest, most bare-bones point, it is Omega Shenron.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's the most boring design. It's the most boring voice. It's the most boring motivation. It's literally the most boring fight.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it's just disappointing. Making the dragons all more or less people, just weird-looking aliens or whatever, was really disappointing. And Omega would have stood out better if he was the only one that was like that. Imagine if all the dragons kind of looked like fucked up versions of Shenron. That would have been cool. They didn't do that, though. They just made them people, humanoid or whatever.
And I mean, or even just more distinct personalities than your regular anime tropes of our typical bad guys, of the sniveling polluter, the really big personality, tiny person kind of thing. They're all just really bland anime villain archetypes. They're not even that interesting.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
I will even give you the lazy designs if they just had something to them that was unique.
Yeah, that's the big problem with it. Like, it's just you just feel like they didn't know what they were doing, but they stumbled on something brilliant.
And this is the most infuriating thing about GT all over the place, because like, if I was going to end Dragon Ball as a franchise after Z, if I was given that task, I think the whole notion of, okay, start with an arc that is a Dragon Ball hunked on a bigger, more consequence scale, have a villain like Baby that has to do with the history of the Saiyan race, have a villain like Super 17 that deals with the people of Earth and the villains they create, like Cell, and then have Shadow Dragons. The actual structure of GT is perfect for what GT was supposed to be.
It's just that they didn't know how to write it well. They didn't know how to execute it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing is, like, people say, oh, well, GT is just awful. I'm like, that's not it, though. It's really smart. It just doesn't know how to finish itself. And, like, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't the people writing GT basically the team that was writing the filler stuff for Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, it was the same team.
And see, that's the problem, is like, this team just clearly didn't know how to truly write these characters. Like, you know, they knew how to have fun with the characters, sure, but they didn't know how to properly deliver them and scale things up. And you think all that time working on Toriyama's stuff, they'd have a better sense of it, but I don't feel like they did.
They are plotters before they are writers.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it gets to that point where, like, the whole process of GT is a series of checkpoint moments in a very calculated way, which is, on some levels, what GT would needed, but without the supplemental writing, it just doesn't work. Kid Goku was always a bad idea. But it didn't have to be. That's one of those things where if you have to necessitate this as part of the plot, a good writer can save it. And they don't.
Yeah, Kid Goku was really dumb. I wouldn't have minded the tail thing. I always was a little sad that the tails went away. I like the tails.
I like the tail thing. I mean, specifically as what Super Saiyan 4 is supposed to be, I think the tail thing makes perfect sense. It's just, it's weird to think about retroactively of, oh, wait a second, if they didn't cut off their tails, they would have been even stronger.
Well, like, the thing that it's supposed to be is you couldn't go Super Saiyan with a tail, which is weird. And then, so, like, Kid Goku, after he grows his tail, actually shouldn't be able to go Super Saiyan 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
He should only be able to do 4. Or Golden Great Ape. I will say, Golden Great Apes, fucking awesome.
Golden Great Apes and Super Saiyan 4, I love. I mean, unabashedly, Super Saiyan 4 is probably my favorite Super Saiyan.
Have you seen the design for Dragon Ball AF?
I have. It's ridiculous and awesome.
I really question, is AF just as fuck? Is that what that means? Or is it like some kind of other thing? Because I really just wanted to be called Dragon Ball as fuck.
I think it's supposed to be Dragon Ball April Fools.
Oh, okay.
But Dragon Ball as fuck would make even more sense.
Yeah, definitely.
No, dude, AF gets ridiculous. Goku reaches Super Saiyan 10.
Oh,
that's a thing.
God.
It's a thing. There's a design. Goku fights and progressively gets from Super Saiyan 9 to 10, and it's ridiculous.
Well, like, I remember this like little cartoon parody animation where like it was called Goku versus Everyone, and it's just like Goku fighting all these fictional characters until Galactus shows up, and then like fucking some random character from, I think it's Adventure Time, it's like, Goku, you can't do this. It's like, what? Why not? Because I'm you from the future. You keep fighting him and changing into different forms until you turn into me when you finally are able to beat him. But everything's destroyed in the process. And that's just what I think of. When like, and, you know, I will give GT this. 4 is like cheap as it feels to go to another level of Super Saiyan. I enjoy it more than the Cell arc. For me, the thing that pissed me off about the Cell arc is I got invested during the Namek saga of Dragon Ball Z when I first started watching it, And then Super Saiyan happened in the Frieza arc, and it was awesome. Then Android stuff was going on, and then from that point on, it just became, let's get to the next level of Super Saiyan to fight Cell. And that always bothered the hell out of me. It felt cheap, it felt one note, it felt like it didn't matter. It made Super Saiyan less cool retroactively.
I'm mixed on that, but I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, and then Boo, they give you Super Saiyan 3 just out of nowhere, and it is... Yeah, it's completely useless. I really appreciate that in the Boo arc, that Super Saiyan 3 does absolutely nothing but keep Goku in the fight for a while. And it does fuck all for Gotenks. I legitimately appreciate that. So, like, the idea of getting a whole arc to get Goku to Super Saiyan 4 would, on a conceptual level, bother the hell out of me. But to your point about it's useful for about 6 minutes, you know, they know how to have it not feel like he's just going to completely dominate the villain now.
Yeah.
That was appreciated. It's not all about getting to Super Saiyan 4. There's still other stuff on the line, and it's just emotionally cathartic in a different way that, you know, it's not the key solution. They still need more. Because he's going up against Bulma, and Bulma's the greatest Dragon Ball villain. I will say, I love Bulma in the show. I don't know why the fuck she's Professor Xing around in her flying chair thingy. That's stupid.
That's kind of funny.
But yeah, just I really like the way that Super Saiyan 4 is integrated, but it's not the be-all, end-all. And it isn't what, like... At no point is Super Saiyan 4 the solution to anything in the show. It's something else via Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah. Super Saiyan 4 is... It's one of those things where, like... It's not just a transformation. It's not just like this... At this stage, your power base multiplies by this much. It was at first, but, like, they retroactively fixed that with the perfect files and stuff to explain in more detail what Super Saiyan 4 is. Some of it's fanfare mixed, but a lot of it is in, like, the literature of Dragon Ball that they put out over time. But the idea of Super Saiyan 4 being the pinnacle form of a Saiyan is really interesting, because theoretically what they do with it is Goku could be, if they're decline at age 80, Goku could be 180 years old, just an old crippled man, and Super Saiyan 4 is still the same. He reverts back to his perfect fighting body as Super Saiyan 4.
Mm-hmm. And that's really cool.
It's really interesting, and like it's supported in a cool way where like Vegeta even like gets smaller and looks younger. Goku looks younger than he does when he's an adult in GT. The whole notion that Super Saiyan 4 is not a level multiplier. It is a physical body of the Ultimate Saiyan. It's a really cool idea, and just as a visual, it's the perfect mix between this is a Saiyan body, this is an Ozaru body, and it's a Super Saiyan transformation, all rolled into one picture.
Mm-hmm. And that is the cool thing about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. I think if nothing else, Dragon Ball GT saves itself on the fact that Super Saiyan 4 was handled in the best possible way.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Super Saiyan 4 is nowhere near the problem with the show.
Yeah,
anyone that has a problem with Super Saiyan 4, I don't even know like how to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, like when you compare it to like the stuff they were doing with the Cell arc, or like the Super Saiyan grade system of just like getting bulkier and bulkier bodies, or like the Super Saiyan full power thing, or even Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue, like all of these weird desperate stages, or Trunks' Super Saiyan Rage, or the false Super Saiyan thing, like all of these desperate branches of Super Saiyan. Of all of them, I feel like the most consistent and well-written is going to be Super Saiyan 4.
I'd agree with that. Let me ask you this, just as a random one-off. Not that they do it because they kind of don't want to mix with GT, given the love-hate relationship people have with that. Do you think it would be cool to see Super Saiyan 4 introduced in Super?
Yeah, I think so. I would appreciate I appreciate the fact that Super Saiyan 4, with the way GT operates, is the final form and you don't go beyond that. If they did it in Super, I'd want them to do it that way, where, like, you get to this point in your Saiyan ability where the God key only goes so far because you're not a god, and your body can only go so far because you are mortal, and the perfect way to compensate for that is Super Saiyan 4.
Super Saiyan 4 God Key? Super Saiyan 4 Blue? Would you want to see that be a thing?
I mean, no, not at all. I would if you're going to introduce Super Saiyan 4, I'd keep it exactly the way it is in GT, which is this is the end cap. It looks exactly the same. You don't go beyond that. You don't mix anything with it, barring maybe Kaioken, because given the explanation they gave for Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, there's no reason he can't do it with Super Saiyan 4.
Okay. Just curious. It's never going to happen, obviously, but just a curious little thing, because I think it'd be interesting to see him get to that level. Like, Beerus finds out, oh, you cut off your tail? Why would you do that? You need every part of your body. That'd be kick-ass.
Yeah. I mean, I dig them bringing back the tails. There will always be this lingering question in my head, though, because of GT, of like, so if Goku just kept his tail and transformed into a Super Saiyan for the first time with Frieza, he wouldn't have just been a Super Saiyan. He would have been a Super Saiyan 4. And none of the entire series would have ever happened the same way.
Not entirely sure that would have been the case. I think you need to go Ozaru first for that to happen.
Potentially, but I mean, I feel like the occasion would have come up at that point. Maybe.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to talk about with GT?
We touched on all the arcs relatively. Do you want to talk about Vegeta a little bit, just in more detail? Because I feel like Vegeta has a moment at the end of Z that makes it very difficult to ever write him again. And the history of Dragon Ball has shown that it's really, really hard to bounce out of that arc. There's the whole... There were specials of Dragon Ball Z that came out after the Buu saga. There's Dragon Ball Super. There's Dragon Ball GT. We've tried... There's even Fusion Reborn and stuff. Like, there are all of these... There are all of these attempts to write Vegeta post that "you're better than me" Kakarot speech, and they all fail or succeed to varying degrees. How do you feel about Vegeta here? Is it consistent with that speech?
You know, it's hard to tell, because I don't think he would ever just quit training or anything like that. I think he would always try to be as strong as Goku. I think he would just stop trying to surpass him and stop obsessing over Goku. So the way it's written here, where he's now wanting to be helpful because he knows Goku can't do it on his own, and so he's willing to fuse now and all that stuff. Like, I love that it's him that suggests the fusion, for example. I feel like he is past that arc. I feel like this is the Vegeta that has gone through the character arc. This isn't a regression to me. Like, he's mad that Goku went off on his own to go fight the Shadow Dragons because the Earth is being threatened and he doesn't have anything to do. He feels useless, and he doesn't... More than anyone, Vegeta doesn't want to be one of those sideline characters that just yells and cheers everybody on. Vegeta's greatest fear is becoming Yamcha. That's how I feel about him in GT. So I do feel that the characterization he has given, the way, like, again, the stuff that's done with him being possessed by Baby, I feel that is all very effective, and an effective continuation of him post Z, post admitting that Kakarot's better than him. That being said, I don't know if it's not been done better anywhere else, because I feel like I maybe got a really similar feel, at least in Battle of Gods, when he was willing to embarrass himself to protect the planet from Beerus.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very similar thing, where this is a character post that. I don't know about it with the rest of Super because I haven't seen it again, but like, I feel that is consistent with that character change.
Yeah, Super is weird. because in Super he catches up to Goku so quickly that like it almost makes the previous arc null and void. We're like, oh, now I don't have to worry about feeling inferior to Kakarot because now there is literally no way for him to get stronger unless I get stronger. It's a weird trap to fall into with Super. And then Fusion Reborn, I feel like they do it really well because it's a lot more subtle and then you don't really have to talk about it in the same way. I like him a lot here. I like his design. I like that he kind of looks like he's a middle-aged dad.
I just don't like the mustache. I
don't
do
either.
Everything but the mustache. It looks so wrong. It looks like it was penciled in by a fan after the fact.
I would believe the fact that Vegeta in his quote-unquote retirement would think the mustache looked good. So I will give it that pass.
I like that they make a joke out of it. I like that they go, okay, this was a bad idea. We're getting rid of the mustache. We're keeping the hair that way, though. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a good compromise. I mean, I like him in it. I like that moment he has towards the end of the Omega Shenron stuff where he has to contemplate losing another planet. And I like that Goku says that everyone is in his hands now at the end of the series, even though we don't get to do anything with that whatsoever.
I like the idea of Vegeta being this protector of Earth. That's really funny.
Yeah, I think that's fun. Yeah, it's interesting. And just the fact that he doesn't actively try to seek Super Saiyan 4 in the way he does Super Saiyan God is kind of refreshing. And I think his Super Saiyan 4 design is also equally fantastic and also equally distinct.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this before we started recording. See, I did it, Steve. I did it. What's up with Vegeta's hair color in Super Saiyan 4?
Oh, okay. This is a weird thing, because it almost entirely exists in anime before it does in the manga. But Vegeta's hair, for any practical purpose of when you are coloring it in, it's black. It's not actually black, maybe, but like if you're going to shade that color multiple times in a series, we might as well say it's black. But the lighting and the touch-ups they do in particular scenes call that into question, where it could actually be brown hair, or it could actually just be really dark blue hair, and Super goes the extra and says, no, it is brown. It is brown hair. It always has been brown hair. It's just the lighting has never reflected it. And like everything with GT, there is a massive fan war over whether or not Vegeta has black hair or brown hair.
Of course, the most important issue of our time.
I mean, I'm content to say his Super Saiyan 3 hair or Super Saiyan 4 hair looks really cool. I don't care if it's brown or black. Also, for the practical purpose of if you are coloring it, it's black. But it's a thing. Like everything in GT, it's become a debate. It didn't used to be this way. It used to be Dragon Ball GT came out and everyone hated it, and that was kind of the general consensus. Then Super came out, and now everything in GT is up for debate. People up to this point will now say, are we regretting bashing GT because Super sucks, or are we on the plane of we were right to bash GT because Super is good? And no one wants to have that nuanced discussion of, you know what? They are both heavily flawed with really good ideas.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I've gleaned from just hearing people talk about Super. And I plan to get into Super eventually here. I don't know if the dub's available for me yet or not. I'm not watching it in subs.
The dub just finished up, or it's about to finish up the Resurrection F arc.
Oh wow! So it's a little behind.
Yeah, it's on episode 15 or 16, and the actual subs just hit episode 100.
Damn.
So yeah, it's a thing.
They're lagging. Okay.
Well, to be fair, the dubs only started in 2017. The show's been on since 2015 at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, like, the one thing I don't like about Super Saiyan 4, and I'm just looking at images of Goku and Vegeta as Super Saiyan 4 right now. So, like, they have that lock of hair from behind their ear that goes down and drapes around their shoulder.
Yeah.
I don't like it because it looks like mutton chops. Like, It's just weird because it's just like that. It's like it's a one particular lock that grows in that specific way on both of them, and it just looks weird. It looks like a bra strap. It just doesn't look right.
It looks weird without it, though, doesn't it?
I mean, maybe it's just that like it's always in front of them. It never brushes back behind. I have long hair. It doesn't always go drape over my shoulders. Most of the time, it stays back. It knows what it's doing.
Gravity works with it.
Yeah, like like occasionally, yeah, a little bit of it will get there. It will not permanently form a lock that just sits in front of my shoulders. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. I don't like that, and I find it a little distracting. If it moved, it would be one thing, but it doesn't.
I mean, that's fair, I guess. I think ultimately, I just think it's a really good design all the way through. I also like, and I wish Sean Schemmel did this in Super, I also like the deeper voice Goku has when he's in a Super Saiyan 4. I don't know. Super Saiyan 4 is just... there's something about it where I'm like, this is my favorite Super Saiyan. Like, it's the most unlike, but exactly what a Super Saiyan form should be.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fair. Alright, so you ready to go ahead and go on to ratings then?
Sure.
Okay, I think I'll give Dragon Ball GT... 3 out of 5 Shadow Dragons.
That's higher than I thought you were going to go, honestly. That's weird, because I thought I was going to have the higher score on this one. I'm going to have the lower one now.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5 exaggerated GTs.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I think it's got its moments. It's better than average to me, because 2.5 is average, 2.5 is an F.
In my head, it's just a matter of, like, for everything good they did something bad. Yeah, so I think it just kind of equals out.
Yeah, but for me, the bad stuff isn't quite overwhelmed, or the good stuff just barely overwhelms the bad.
That's fair.
To the point where I'm like, okay, I can watch this. Fan fiction of, masturbating over Android 17 aside. There's the thing. Android 17 can fucking flip his hair. Why can't Goku or Vegeta flip their goddamn hair with their Super Saiyan 4? What the shit?
He is that I am convinced the only reason that arc and that character design exists is so we can watch him dramatically flip his hair back. Because that's all he does. We focus more on animating original moments of him flipping his hair than we do for individual fights in Super.
Yep, pretty much. It's ridiculous. That dude is all over the place. Oh, man.
Is Super Saiyan 4's greatest weakness that all you have to do is chop off the tail and now the opponent is completely useless in a fight?
I don't know. I was wondering that. Like, it would have been interesting if someone tried that, like cutting off Goku's tail and it brought him out of Super Saiyan 4. That could be fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it's a thought I've always had, but my brain's always gone to rationalize it as, given the fur they're wearing, maybe it's just really dense and you can't cut it the way you would have a normal Saiyan tail or something.
Yeah, that could be it. Like, if someone tried it and it just didn't work.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's coated in the same fur. Super GT does a weird thing where when Goku goes Super Saiyan and he has his tail, sometimes it's still brown and sometimes it's gold. When it's brown, my impression is just being Super Saiyan doesn't, like, protect the tail, because you can still cut a Super Saiyan's hair when they're in Super Saiyan. They do this in Z also. But maybe because it's a red tail, they can't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a... They didn't think about it, Steve. That's the answer. They didn't... You're thinking about it more than the people who made it thought about it. That is the answer.
That's the ultimate curse of GT, is that there are more fan theories about the show than there are fans or theories for this entire production.
Ouch. Drop the mic. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Everyone, thanks for watching this episode of Geeky Gentlemen, where we review GT. Depending on when you're watching it, check the description. I'll see if I can remember to throw a link down to the Dragon Ball Sai discussion. because I'm really excited for that. So look forward to that. For people that, for if it hasn't been posted for it, look forward to that. If it sounds interesting to you, check it out. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the Exile.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.